Hi, this is Ben Hart. I'm sitting out here this morning on my porch, and you're going to hear some rain. It's raining out here. Probably some background noise from the street, too, so hopefully everything will sound okay out here. I've been reading up here on General Motors' new Volt, the new Chevy Volt, this new car, this new electric car that's coming out. This Chevy Volt, this Obama Volt, is kind of just a great illustration of everything that's wrong with Obama's economic program. Now, this Obama Volt that they just rolled out a few days ago in Detroit, Obama went up there and sat in it, got all these photos, and he wants us to go out there and buy this electric car. It's kind of the car that everybody's been waiting for 18 months. It's supposed to be the car of the future. It's what Obama wants us to drive because it's supposedly a green energy car, and it's going to provide all these green jobs and so on. And so the sad part is that this is the car that General Motors' entire future really depends on. You remember General Motors took that $50 billion in taxpayer bailouts, and what this had the effect of doing is it made Obama the CEO of the company. He's now the chief executive officer. He runs the company. The company is now owned by the federal government and by the labor unions. The bondholders, of course, were screwed in the whole deal. But now it's basically government motors, and Obama is the CEO. He who has the gold makes the rules, and so that's what Obama is doing over there at General Motors. And what Obama has done is he ordered General Motors to quickly produce this Chevy Volt, this Chevrolet Volt, which is the battery-operated car. It's an electric car. I've just finished reading this article that appeared in the New York Times by a fellow by the name of Edward Niedermeyer, and I guess he covers cars for the New York Times, has a website about cars, and so he's pretty knowledgeable about this. And he writes a review of the Obama Volt. And we know how pro-Obama the New York Times is, and we would certainly expect the New York Times to give us a glowing review of this new Obama green energy car. This is supposed to be the model for the future, this Chevy Volt, which I'm calling the Obama Volt because this is the car that Obama ordered GM to make. The article, this Niedermeyer article in the New York Times, is titled GM's Electric Lemon. GM's Electric Lemon. Now, really, this car is not GM's fault, so I don't want to come across here as bashing GM. It's not their fault because the government, Obama, essentially ordered GM to make this car. And this New York Times article really does trash the Obama Volt. Now, the first problem with the Obama Volt is that its price tag is $41,000. Its price tag is $41,000. That's compared to the regular gas equivalent of the Volt, which is called the Chevrolet Cruze, and that costs $17,000. So let's see. You can pay $41,000 for this Obama Volt, or you can pay $17,000 to buy the exact same car, except it runs on regular gasoline. There's no battery there. There's no electric power there. It's just the old gas-powered car. So it's $41,000 for the privilege of driving a battery car, the Obama Volt, or $17,000 to drive the exact same car, only it's powered by the old-fashioned gasoline method. Now, which car do you think that most people are going to choose? But wait, there's more. Now, it turns out that this battery on the Volt will only take you a maximum distance of 40 miles on a charge. 40 miles. Now, that's barely enough range to get me to the grocery store and back. Now, if I have to also run some errands in addition to going to the grocery store, maybe go to the dry cleaners, maybe pick up my kids from school or some activity, I'm easily going to put 40 miles on the car. But the Obama Volt battery won't take me that distance. Now my car, my gasoline powered car, that will get me 40 miles once the needle hits the empty line on my gas gauge. Once that orange light turns on, I know I then have 40 miles to go. And so I better think about getting some gas, or otherwise I'm going to run out of gas. And so when that orange light goes on, I know I have about 40 miles to go, and I better start looking for some gas. But 40 miles is all you can go on this Obama Volt battery, in this car that costs $41,000. Wow. Now, there is a backup system where once the battery runs out, once you've gone your 40 miles, the gasoline system then kicks in. So that's the backup system. I'm not really sure of what the point of having a battery is if it only takes you 40 miles before the gasoline backup system kicks in. That seems like a lot of trouble to me. Plus, it turns out the Obama Volt requires premium gasoline, whereas the regular Chevy Cruze, that uses regular gas. Now, the New York Times, just getting back to the New York Times, sums it up this way, sums up the Obama Volt this way. It says, in short, the Volt appears to be exactly the kind of green at all costs car that some opponents of the bailout feared the government might order GM to build. Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's exactly what has happened. This is what you get when you have the government involved in the car business or in any business. Imagine, for example, if the government were also involved in making computers. What kind of computer would you end up with? Do you think we'd have the iPhone or the iPad or the BlackBerry or the hundreds of other electronic devices that we have out there competing with each other? Prices dropping, explosion of products and so on. Do you think we'd have that if the government was controlling the high-tech industry, preventing the high-tech industry from making a profit and so on? Actually, you probably wouldn't have computers at all, because if the government was running it, if the government was deciding what was going to be built, we probably wouldn't have computers at all, because the government really can't make anything. The government doesn't produce anything. The government doesn't manufacture products. The government doesn't create products. All government can do is take money from businesses and from individuals and spread it around. All it can do is take money and spend it and buy products. Even the Defense Department, it purchases weapons and defense systems from private companies that make these things. The government can't create or produce anything, but that doesn't stop Obama. Obama has made himself the CEO of General Motors, and now Obama is making what Obama wants them to make. This supposedly green energy car. This is supposed to be the car of the future. But there's some other problems with the Obama Volt car. Besides the 40-mile per charge range of the battery, the Obama Volt only seats 4 people because of this enormous battery that runs down the center of the car so that there's no room in the middle seat in the back. So there's room for just 2 people back there because of this enormous battery that's in the way. That means that the $17,000 Chevy Cruze is actually much roomier than the $41,000 Volt, because the Chevy Cruze doesn't have this enormous battery taking up all that space. But the $41,000 sticker price for the Volt doesn't really even begin to scratch the surface of how much the Obama Volt really costs, because it's so heavily subsidized by the taxpayers. Let me quote from the New York Times again. Quote, quantifying just how much taxpayer money will have been wasted on the hastily developed Volt is no easy feat. Start with a $50 billion bailout, without which none of this would have been necessary, and then add $250 million in Energy Department grants that were doled out to GM last summer, plus $150 million in federal money to the Volt's Korean battery supplier, and up to $1.5 billion in tax breaks for purchasers and other consumer incentives so that getting people to buy the Volt, and some significant portion of the $14 billion loan that GM got in 2008 for retooling its plants. And you've got some idea of how much taxpayer cash is built into the Volt. Now, this is the New York Times. This is the liberal New York Times saying this. I think that's pretty amazing, that the New York Times would be this opposed to Obama's centerpiece project, his centerpiece project for his Green Jobs program.